Now, as anyone who's ever had to look for a job can testify, trying to make your CV really impressive is quite a job in itself. But it can also be a tough one for recruiters. They have to weed out the wheat from the chaff, really. So in China, the French cosmetics company L'Oreal is trying something new. It's scrapping the CV and instead it's trying a different approach, as John Sudworth reports now from Shanghai.
China produces 7 million job-hungry graduates every year.
How excited would you be to work somewhere like L'Oreal?
It's beyond words.
There's no shortage of enthusiasm, of course, but with such large numbers, how does a company go about choosing the best? Well, the French cosmetics company L'Oreal has been doing what pretty much everyone else is doing, limiting their search to China's top-tier universities.
We want to assess you for the culture, for the style, for the fit of L'Oreal.
It's a problem that recruiters everywhere will be familiar with. There's simply no time to read every CV. And so, despite knowing they could be excluding a lot of potential talent, if the candidate didn't go to a top school, their CV is automatically rejected. At least until now, that is, because this year L'Oreal in China has decided to do away with this mountain of paperwork and replace it with something that every student has, regardless of educational background: the mobile phone. All they need to do is get online and use their mobile phones to answer 3 simple questions. If you're given an assignment but the instructions are unclear, this one reads, how would you go about completing it to a high standard? Their answers are fed into the computer system of this Shanghai-based startup company by analysing the language used.
So, 1,000.
The vocabulary and sentence structure, the software designers claim to be able to make accurate predictions about key personality traits.
If you look at computers, they have no emotions, they have no moods. So you can program it to act like an ideal human that would judge these answers without any sort of color, any sort of bias. And that's what we've done here.
Laurel Sun is one of those who almost certainly wouldn't have made it to the interview stage before, but her high computer score means now she's in with a chance. And so to decision time. This year, of the 70 new recruits, more than a third come from universities that wouldn't previously have been considered.
Do you think it was a good fit? What we're really looking for in students is raw talent. You want people that are a better fit to your company culture, a better fit to the competencies that you look for, and they're not necessarily going to have those competencies just because they went to this university or worked at this company before.
As for Laurel,
How did you do, Laurel?
Hi.
You've got it?
well, she made it through the interview. One life changed by a computing revolution in recruitment. John Sudworth, BBC News, Shanghai.
Interesting. One life among how many more, I wonder? Well, Waqar Azmi runs his own recruitment company called Sutra HR in Mumbai and joins us now, as does recruitment expert Amy Bateman, who's in our studio in Cardiff in Wales. Thanks both very much for joining us. Amy, let me ask you first. Well, it saved you an awful lot of work, this system. Would you be behind it?
I think that anything that showcases the value that an individual can add to a business is a good thing. I mean, verbal reasoning has been part of the recruitment process for a very, very long time. Employers don't just want to buy what you do, they want to buy why you do it. They're buying why you get out of bed in the morning. They're buying if you have a bad day on Monday, are you going to come back on Tuesday? There is so much more to a person than 2 pages of a CV.
But computers can only do so much, can't they, obviously? You can't define all that out of 75 words written on a page.
My heart would break if I thought that computers were going to be making the entire decisions of the recruitment process. It's one human being buying into another human being and vice versa. But computers can play a part in identifying language. I mean, language is a great way to identify intelligence, and there are very, very clever softwares out there that can help that process.
Waqar, what do you think? You up for this?
Hey, listen, I think this is a very interesting step. I'm sure it is kind of the first step towards the future of recruitment. If you look at the video itself, it kind of showcases L'Oreal. I think they'll recruit a lot of guys for their retail industry, and with the huge population, I think it's an interesting way to weed out people and probably consider a shortlist. Yeah, so I think it kind of works very well there. Yeah.
Do you think it would mean, as John sort of suggested as well, perhaps the end of the sort of hierarchical nature of recruitment, which is go to the schools with the best reputations?
I think that there's definitely a knock-on effect that could happen, definitely. But I think that that's a challenge that universities have to face, I suppose, and wonder how they're going to manage that.
End of the old boys network, Waqar.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Listen, you know what? The talent which different university produces varies, right? So I really don't think it would make a lot of difference in terms of the talent. What I think what it would probably do is probably pick out some of the top guys from these smaller ranked universities. But I don't see much effect there, honestly.
Right, let me ask both of you. I'll start with you, Waqar. Anyway, the CV. I mean, how much do you these days anyway put store in the CV? Because if people don't know how now to exaggerate their talents, they never will.
Honestly speaking, I take a lot of interviews and I don't look at CVs. I usually try to interact with people, understand who they are, where they come from, why they would want to take up the job and stuff, and probably evaluate on that. I guess anybody could probably make a great CV, but a CV doesn't represent an individual. So it kind of speaks a bit about the person, but yeah, it's far from representing an individual.
Right,
yeah.
so Amy, the days of saying I've been trekking on my own around the Himalayas and I learned to ride a motorbike when I was 4 and all this sort of stuff, that can all go out of the window now.
I don't know, I just think that CVs are very good at showcasing somebody's features, but a company wants to know how those things are going to benefit them. So rather than selling your features, selling your benefits. You might have done 5 marathons last year, but how's that going to benefit me as an employer? And the wonderful way about using social media and showcasing more than, you know, all of these other things is how are you actually going to add value to my business?
Can I ask, can I ask you one last point, very briefly? How important are those, like L'Oreal had 3 key questions.
Yeah.
How important are the questions? Do the questions actually matter that much?
Crucial, absolutely crucial, because that piece of technology is only as good as the human being that's running it and the input that's going into it. Crucial.
Limiting to have 3 questions, Waqar?
Okay, yeah, 3 questions, I think it can play a part, but honestly I see a problem of over here some of probably verification and somebody probably imposting. Like, what if my friend probably fills up the question for me? I see probably a lot of imposters. Yeah, I seriously see that as a problem, because you know anybody could probably download the app or whichever the medium be and tell somebody like who's an expert to fill up the questions.
There's always a way around everything, isn't there?
Well, Waqar, yeah, absolutely,
Amy,
absolutely.
we'll see how it catches on. Thank you both very much indeed.